The news hit the basketball world like a storm. Caitlin Clark, the Iowa phenom who has made headlines with her dazzling play, took a step that left WNBA fans, players, and analysts shaking their heads. She signed a groundbreaking contract in Europe, smashing records and drawing an emotional response from the WNBA's top stars. The moment was electric, but the reactions were even more charged. WNBA players did not mince words. They were frustrated, disappointed, and most of all, they felt disrespected. "They hate us," seemed to be the overarching sentiment among many of the league's biggest names, as this deal wasn't just about money, but about what it signified. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Caitlin Clark's decision to take her talents across the Atlantic struck a chord with those who had been part of the WNBA's ongoing battle for recognition and respect. For the league's players, the move was about more than a paycheck. It was about the broader implications of what it means to be a professional female basketball player in the United States. Clark's Europe deal isn't the first of its kind, but it set a new standard, one that many WNBA stars couldn't help but envy. Clark, still in her early 20s, was given a contract that dwarfed the average salary of WNBA players, shining a harsh spotlight on the discrepancies between Europe's women's leagues and the WNBA when it comes to compensation. Some WNBA players were quick to speak out. The frustration has been bubbling beneath the surface for years. They'd watched as the men in the NBA raked in millions while they struggled to get fair recognition and pay. Then comes Caitlin Clark with her fresh pace, her fiery competitiveness, and her jaw-dropping ability to light up the court. She was supposed to be the next big thing in the WNBA. Instead, she's headed off to Europe, where they not only value her skills, but are willing to pay a small fortune for them. The players' anger wasn't just directed at Clark. It was aimed at the system that allowed this disparity to exist in the first place. It was a system that seemed to, as they saw it, hate them. Clark's contract shattered the previous records for European women's basketball, and WNBA players couldn't help but compare it to what they've had to settle for. It's not that the WNBA players dislike Caitlin. In fact, many admire her game. It's that her move reminded them of the bitter reality they face. While the WNBA has made strides in recent years, boosting salaries and improving conditions, the gap remains painfully wide. Some players took to social media to vent their frustration, with tweets and Instagram stories highlighting the glaring pay differences and asking why someone as talented as Clark wouldn't stay in the U.S. to grow the league. Behind all the noise, there was an underlying tension. Caitlin Clark represented hope for many WNBA players. She was supposed to be the golden ticket, the star that could take the league to new heights. Her signing with a European team was like watching your favorite player get traded to a rival. The players knew Clark wasn't to blame for the financial decisions she made, but it still stung. The unspoken sentiment was clear. The WNBA wasn't enough. Europe offered her more money, more opportunities, more of everything. And that felt like a betrayal to those who had been grinding it out in the U.S. for years, waiting for the moment when their league would finally get the respect and paychecks they deserved. Some of the reactions from WNBA players were expected: frustration, disappointment, and a sense of being overlooked. But there was also a more personal element to it. Many of these women had put their bodies on the line, fighting for every win, every contract, and every piece of recognition. Seeing a young star like Clark make headlines for a deal overseas was a reminder that the WNBA still had a long way to go. The league has had its struggles, and though progress has been made, there remains a significant gap between where the WNBA wants to be and where it currently stands. For Clark, the decision wasn't personal against the WNBA. It was about maximizing her value and capitalizing on her popularity. She's a competitive player, and she's smart. Her move to Europe was calculated, and it made sense financially. Who wouldn't want to go where the money is? But for the players back home, it was a gut punch. They have worked hard to build something special in the WNBA, but Clark's contract sent a clear message. For the brightest stars, the money and opportunities are still better elsewhere. Clark's departure wasn't just a headline. It was a symbol of the ongoing challenges facing the WNBA. There's been an undercurrent of dissatisfaction for a while now. Players have been pushing for higher salaries, better travel arrangements, and improved marketing. The league has tried to answer these calls, but the progress has been slow. And now, with Clark heading to Europe, it feels like a setback, a reminder that they still have a long way to go before they can truly compete with other leagues around the world. The response from fans was equally mixed. Some were excited to see how Clark would fare overseas, testing her skills against the best in Europe. Others were disappointed, hoping she would stay in the U.S. and elevate the WNBA to new heights. But regardless of where people stood, everyone agreed on one thing. Caitlin Clark was a star, and her decision to sign with a European team was going to have ripple effects. The WNBA has always prided itself on being a league of fighters, athletes who play with heart, grit, and determination. For many players, seeing Clark take her talents to Europe felt like a punch in the gut. Not because they begrudge her success, but because it highlighted the struggles they still face. They'd fought tooth and nail to build the league, to grow its audience, and to fight for the respect they deserve. Clark's deal, in a way, underscored the fact that there's still more work to be done. In locker rooms across the WNBA, players vented their frustrations to each other, discussing what Clark's move meant for the league. They talked about the pay gap, the lack of media coverage, and the feeling that no matter how hard they worked, they were still being shortchanged. Some players couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Here they were, some of the best athletes in the world, playing in the most competitive women's league, and yet a young player like Clark could go overseas and make more in a single contract than many of them could dream of earning in their careers. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but it was also a wake-up call. Clark's deal is likely to have a lasting impact on the WNBA. Already, there's talk of other young stars considering the European route. Why stay in the U.S. when you can earn more overseas? It's a question that WNBA players and executives alike are going to have to grapple with. If the league can't find a way to close the pay gap and provide the same opportunities as Europe, they risk losing more players to international leagues. Despite the frustration, there's also a sense of admiration for Clark. She made a bold move, and she's going to be setting records and making waves overseas. The WNBA players know what it's like to bet on yourself, to take risks in the pursuit of greatness. They respect that. But at the same time, they can't help but feel a bit slighted. They want the WNBA to be the premier destination for women's basketball players, not a stepping stone to Europe. The situation is complex, and there are no easy answers. But one thing is clear. Caitlin Clark's decision has sparked a conversation that isn't going away anytime soon. WNBA players are speaking out, and they're making it clear that they deserve better. They've been fighting for a long time, and Clark's record-breaking contract has only added fuel to the fire. As for Clark, she's heading to Europe with her eyes on the prize. She's always been driven, always been a competitor, and now she's ready to take on a new challenge. But even as she packs her bags and prepares for life overseas, the reverberations of her decision are still being felt in the WNBA. The players are angry, but they're also more determined than ever to keep pushing for the changes they've been fighting for. If anything, Clark's move has shown them that there's still a lot of work to be done, and they're ready for the fight. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.